Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another interactive, intuitive practice session here with AP3X CSEC Online Institute. My name is Akin and I'm your math instructor. I am the one that is going to help you to not only master your fundamental but also improve as a math student both intuitively and logically. All right. And of course, in today's video, we are in fact attacking a recent practice sheet that I had submitted to my current 200 plus students that I'm currently teaching and currently preparing for the CSEC examination 2025 2026. And of course, you would have seen that I've started reposting on my channel where I'm now posting my live classes, my live recordings when my students and I are in our interactive online tutoring sessions. Should you guys be interested in becoming a part of that platform, you can also reach out to me in the comments, or you can click at the top of my homepage. You'll find all the links that will take you to my social media platforms, and you can definitely contact me there. All right. Should in the event that you need to contact me directly through WhatsApp, then you can find that the phone number is 220-7352. That is 876-220-7352. All right. And if you find yourself on this video, please be sure to hit the subscribe button below that is placed in the bottom right. Well, I guess the bottom right corner of the video. Do not forget to hit the subscribe button below. Turn on your post notification bell to be notified weekly whenever I post online live classes, tutorials, practice worksheets, past paper questions. Leave your comments down in the comment section. Leave your thoughts. And of course, let's get into this interactive practice session here. Right now, throughout this video, what you're going to be experiencing is we are going to be clearing up a lot of ambiguities when it comes to this topic. Now, you would have seen in my last recent post, which you can find link pinned in the comments and in the description of this video, where you can find links to my own have video. You will also find links to my PEMDAS video as well, where I've broken down step by step how you attack these problems. But now we're going to be exercising the skills that we've garnered through those lessons and apply them to this practice worksheet. Now, I do have approximately 14 questions here for you, and we're going to be working through them step by step, identifying areas of concerns and areas where students potentially might make mistakes. Throughout the video, I do ask that if you want to become a better student and you want to test your skills upon seeing these questions, you want to pause the video, work the questions, and if you're stuck at a certain part, then you can unpause the video or work the complete question, get your answer, and then match your solutions to mine. So without further ado, let's dive right on in to today's lesson. We are going to be practicing some questions on order of operations and operations with integers. Let's get into it. Now, as you can see here on screen, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have a bunch of questions and we're going to be attacking them. Now, for me personally, this is the most important aspect of math, your fundamentals. I've been saying this for the better half of 15 years that I've been teaching, that if you have weak fundamentals, you are going to struggle when you reach the intermediate and, of course, to the advanced level. Concepts at that level are going to be difficult for you to grasp if you have not or mastered this level. All right, so let's get into it here. Now on the screen here, you're seeing a question that says -1 multiplied by a square bracket, pardon me here, square bracket, 3 minus 4 times 7 in a closed parentheses divided by 5 closed bracket, minus 2 times 24 divided by 6. All right, now what I always encourage my students to do when you see questions like these is to always try to write the PEMDAS rule right above, right? So you want to do this something like this, PEMDAS at the top, all right? And so from here, what you're going to do is cross off what you are currently doing, what isn't there, or what needs to be done in the question. And so right away, looking at this question, you can see that there is in fact a parenthesis in the question. There is actually there's a parenthesis that is inside of a bracket. Now, bear in mind, guys, that this is the bracket here. Let me just identify these things for you. So this here is the square bracket. And inside here, you are going to find the parentheses, all right? I believe there is a parenthesis somewhere there, okay? There should be a parenthesis inside here. All right, so what we're going to do then is that we're going to be working out what is inside the green parentheses here, all right? And regardless of whether you're in the parentheses or not, you are going to go ahead and apply the PEMDAS rule in the parentheses. So as you can see here, naturally, that there's a subtraction sign and it's a multiplication sign. Multiplication takes precedence over subtraction. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to work out 4 times 7 is 28. And then 3 minus 28 is negative 25. Now, what I like to do is that I like to write down step by step. There are some students that are a little bit more advanced than the persons who I'm targeting in this video. So if you feel the need to work out more than one things at the same time, go right ahead. But for me, I'm going to take it step by step with the students that are currently watching this here. So 4 times 7 is 28, and 3 take away 28 is negative 25 divided by 5 here. All right, so this is actually, pardon me, this is the closed parentheses right here. All right, and then we have the closed brackets at the end. All right, so 3 minus 4 times 7. 4 sevens is 28. 28, 3 take away 28 is negative 25 divided by 5. I'm going to go ahead and write down back whatever is here. All right, now from here, I'm going to move on next to finishing the closed bracket here. So it's going to be minus 1 multiplied by negative 25 divided by 5. That's going to be negative 5 minus 2. And then I'm going to go ahead then. I could work out the 24 divided by 6 now, but again, I'm going to go ahead and do that because even though I'm inside the parentheses, since I'm already dividing right here, I could go ahead also and just divide simultaneously then. All right, so that's 2 times 24 divided by 6 is 4. All right, minimize the amount of working out. At the end of the day, guys, even the working math problems step by step, it still requires you to develop the ability to work the math problem and be more concise. But this video is particularly targeting students that are fundamentally weak or students that have areas of concern in their fundamental mathematical ability. All right, so we're going to go ahead then and wrap this question up. We have 2 sets of multiplication here. That's 1 here and 1 here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and see negative 1 times negative 5 is positive 5. And negative 2 times 4 is negative 8, giving us a final answer here of negative 3. All right, lovely. So that takes care of that math problem. We're going to move on then down to this section. Now, this next question here is not a PEMDAS question, but it's a question that particularly assists students in terms of understanding the importance of sign clashes. This is crucial. Sign clashes plague students a lot. Sign clashes. So when it comes to sign clashes, there are 2 rules that you're going to have to look out for. When a negative clashes with a negative, what's the result? And when a positive clashes with a negative. All right, these are the only 2 scenarios that are going to come up. So therefore, then when a negative clashes with a negative, we replace those 2 signs with a positive. And when a positive clashes with a negative, we replace those 2 signs and put a negative here. So then, first thing you want to do when you get questions like these, where there's only add and subtract in the question, you want to get rid of the clashes that are present. So here's a clash right here, there's a clash right here, there's a clash right here, and there's one right here. And so what you want to do is that you want to rewrite the questions without the clash. So that's going to be negative 12 minus 13 plus times negative is negative 8 minus 18 plus 15 minus 11. All right, so there you can see a plus times negative is negative. I put a negative between the 13 and the 8. A positive times negative is a negative. I put a negative between the 8 and the 18 right here. And then I have negative by negative is positive. I put a positive between the 18 and the 15 right here. And then, of course, a positive times a negative gives a negative. I put a negative between the 15 and the 11. All right, so we have those signs packed down. We just have to go ahead and create what I refer to as cases here. So cases here, and then we have a case here and a case here. All right. Now, many students have a tendency to group the terms that are of like signs. So they want to put all the negatives together and all the positive. Again, you can do that. There are a variety of ways to work these questions. What you don't want to do is that you don't want to type the numbers into the calculator and it just gives you the answer, because then you would have missed out the most important part of becoming a stronger student. And that is the ability to strengthen your core, strengthen your process. The process of getting to the answer is more important than the answer, because then throughout the process you can identify areas of weaknesses and you can see where you're consistently making the error. Okay, so let's get right into it then. So we have minus 12 minus 13. Remember, in our online on-out video, which you will find a link pinned in the description and in the comments of this video, we would have discussed the principles of negative being considered as an amount that we owe, and positive numbers being looked at as a number that we have. So in this case here, there is nothing that we have because both numbers are negative. Now there is a common mistake. I'm not sure if it's everywhere across the Caribbean, but particularly in my country and over the students that I've taught over the past 15 years, they have a common tendency to say negative and negative gives them a positive. Now there's a difference between negative multiplied by negative and a negative plus a negative. A negative times a negative is in fact, yes, a positive, but that's only if there's presence of a multiplication sign. Now, if a negative and a negative with no signs or a plus sign between them, then the answer is still going to remain as negative. So you want to make note of that, ladies and gentlemen. So in this case here, we have negative 12. This could be considered as negative 12 plus negative 13 if you want to really look at it like from that point of view. All right. If you want to look at it from that point of view, then you can do that. All right. So here we go. We are going to go ahead and just erase this here. So negative 12 minus 13 implies that we owe 12 and we owe 13, so we end up owing 25, all right? And then in the next bracket, which is similar to the first one, we owe an amount of 8 along with owing another amount of 18, so we end up owing an amount of 26. And in the third bracket here, 15 take away 11 is obviously going to be positive 4, because you owe 11 and you have 15. If you pay the 11 that you owe, you're still going to have 4 left over. Creating another pair of parentheses here, we have negative 25 minus 26. Because there's no positive present, then it means that you would have owed negative 25, you owe negative 26, so that's negative 51 plus 4. All right. And at this stage, you want to ensure that this mistake, which is very common, and if you have made an error like this in the past, you can always leave it in the comments. Sir, this is a mistake that I've always made. Now I understand that negative 51 plus 4 is not negative 55, but it is in fact negative 47. And you might be asking, sir, how is this possible? How did you get negative 47? Remember that the negative 51 represents an amount that you owe, all right? And the positive 4 represents an amount that you have. If you're able to pay what you have, then you'll realize that the amount still owing is negative 47. Again, guys, if you have not watched the owe and have video, if you don't know what I'm referring to or what I'm talking about, it is very, very important for you to check out that fundamental tutorial with my interactive online students, where we discuss the principles of owe and have. All right, so go ahead, guys, and check that out. Let's move right on to the next question then. All right, here we go. So now we're looking at another PEMDAS question here, and there's nothing too tricky with this one. But this one, you just have to be very mindful once again of how or what to do when and where. All right, so here we have a pair of parentheses along with division. Inside the parentheses, there are a bunch of different operations such as addition. We have the exponent here, and we also have subtraction. So bear in mind that the rules of PEMDAS is also applied within the parentheses as well. So we want to make note of that. Yeah, right. And then we have the division 3 by 3. So as usual, we're going to go ahead and write down our PEMDAS right at the top here. All right. And remember that doing this, what I'm doing now, writing PEMDAS at the top, It is not for the purpose of the instructor, but it's the purpose of you to guide yourself, because there are students that work these problems and they get confused real fast. They get confused really quickly, or they miss steps, or they forgot that this works before that. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and cross off what we don't have, what we're doing. So there is a parenthesis. Now, inside the parentheses, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you'll find here that we have an exponent inside here. All right. So what we're going to do is that I'm going to take my time and work through this problem here. I'm going to write down my -9. I'm going to work out my exponent, because that's the first thing. Exponents takes precedence over addition and subtraction, right? So we have to do that exponent first. 8 minus 8, right? I'm going to go ahead and divide by 3. I could write down 3 times 3 is 9, but I'm going to take my time and work through that problem, okay? So for advanced students or intermediate students at this level, you can go ahead and work more than one thing at the same time. Now, if you're looking carefully, you realize that 8 minus 8 is 0. So 8 minus 8 is 0. So I could just easily write down my answer here to be -9. But then that would be me breaking the rule of how I practice, or how I was taught. So how you were taught was to work out addition before subtraction, provided that addition appears before subtraction. Hopefully that makes sense to you then. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, then I'm going to work out -9 here. So -9 plus 8. So this part here, -9 plus 8, that's going to give us -1. So that's -1 minus 8. I'm going to put it back in a bracket. I'm going to divide by 3 times 3. Again, you don't have to do it this way. You don't necessarily have to do so many lines, but essentially I want every, not some, not a few, not majority, but every student to understand the step-by-step process that we take to get into our answer. All right, and then finally, now -1 minus 8 is -9. I'm going to go ahead then, and I'm going to write down my 3 times 3. Now, earlier I did mention that I could have worked out the 3 times 3, which is 9. Here's the problem, and I'm going to show you shortly how incorrect that can be. If you notice, I was hinting at getting you to work out the 3 times 3. And if I was successful, a few of you students would have made one of the biggest mistakes that you could ever make in this question. For those of you who actually took the step that I was programming you to make, and you wrote down 9, your answer is going to work out to be -1. And on the calculator, which I'm going to pull up on the screen shortly, you'll find that your answer is not -1. Let's have a look at why. You would have essentially broken the rule of PEMDAS. Here's why. In this question, we have multiplication immediately following the division. And so both of these problems, or both of these operations, are tied for priority. Now, if you watch my PEMDAS video, remember we stated that in that video, if M and D appears in the same question, in the same problem, consecutively behind each other, then the one that is on the left should be done before the one that is on the right. Here is why. Let's work this question out and get the correct answer, guys. Let's have a look at this question then. So the correct answer to this question then is to go ahead and work out -9 divided by 3. And that's going to be worked out to be -3 times 3, which is equal to -9. Now, here is what you guys would have gotten if you broke the rule. -9 divided by, and then you would have essentially went ahead and you would have multiplied 3 times 3 from the first or second line, and then you would have brought down the 9, and then you would have ended up with -1. All right, so both answers possibly could be correct, because obviously -9 divided by 9 is -1, and -3 times 3 is -9. So let us consult our calculator, since the calculator essentially usually have the correct, it essentially usually gives us the correct answer. This question, just a second, let me grab it from my template here. Just a second here, guys. All right, just a second. All right, so I'm gonna grab this question paper from my device. All right, good. So let's type everything into the calculator all at once. All right, and no matter what we do, we're gonna get -9. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna type right in here, open parentheses, right, -9, right? That's -9 plus 2 to the power of 3, so that's 2 cubes, right? We're getting there. minus 8. We're going to close the parentheses just as we have it there. Okay? And then we're going to press divide by 3 times 3. Now, if I press equal, will I get minus 9 or will I get minus 1? Let us see. Minus 9. So essentially, as I was hinting to you earlier, this is the temptation that many of you guys make. When you guys are working these math problems, you tend to always try to work more than one thing at the same time, and essentially then you get the incorrect answer simply because you are not working the question step by step. You're trying to work more than one thing at the same time to be more concise, and sometimes being more concise can cause you to make an unfortunate, ambiguous error. So we want to avoid that. So here, then again, guys, please be focused, guys, and do not break the rules of PEMDAS, or the penalty you'll pay will be getting your questions incorrect. All right. So hopefully you cleared up that. So it was a simple question that brought out a lot, especially in that last line. If the question is worth 3 marks, you would have only gotten 2, maybe 1, depending on the instructor. Probably no points for that question. All right. Moving on right on to the next one. Now, again, we are fluctuating between order of operations, and we are fluctuating between order of operations and operations with integers. So we are practicing both. We're practicing our signs, and we're practicing the principle and the order of how operations should be done. So here again, we have a question now where it's just plus and minus involved. So there's a bunch of sign clashes we're going to take care of here. Sign clash here, sign clash here, sign clash here, and sign clash here. So let's get rid of the question without the clash. Let's rewrite the question without the clash. 19, let's take care of the clash. A plus times a minus gives a minus. A minus times a minus gives a plus. A plus times a minus gives a minus. And a plus times a minus gives a minus. So therefore then, we have 19 take away 23 plus 18 minus 8 minus 17. All right, so we're going to go ahead then and we're going to place this into groups of 2 as we've been doing. Remember, in that class, I refer to this as cases. All right, each case will produce a different outcome. There are students that loves to group like signs and then add up all the negatives. If you know what you're doing and you're not going to make a mistake, then that also works. But for me, I find it easier, in my opinion, my humble opinion, to just go ahead and put these numbers into groups of 2. All right. Or you can work them one at a time. You can just say 19 minus 23, get the answer, then add 18 to it, then add negative 8, then add negative 17. It's just entirely up to you. For me, my students, this is how I teach it. So 19 minus 23, that works out to be negative 4 because you owe 23 and you only have 19. Paying the 19 that you have, you end up owing only 4. 18 minus 8, that's going to be positive 10. Again, because you have 18 and you owe 8, you pay the 8 that you owe, and you're still going to have an amount of 10 left over minus 17. Now we end up here with negative 4 plus 10. Again, so many students have consistently, in my 15 years of teaching, have written down answers like negative 14. We've got to get out of that habit of looking at the number and ignoring the sign that is in front of the number. In this case, you're going to find that the answer is not negative 14, but positive 6, because you owe 4 and you have 10. You pay the 4 that you owe, and you're going to have 6 left over. All right. And like I've said in multiple of my interactive online tutorials, that many students are heading into CSEC. They're heading into EDXL. They're heading into SEA. They're heading into CCSLC exams. They're heading into all different types of exams. You have students at the intermediate and the advanced level that are struggling with basic concepts such as 6 minus 17. So the question then is, why are so many students failing math? Students are failing math because fundamentally there are areas of concern. There are gray areas in your fundamental math that needs to be addressed. And of course, it would be mistakes like this where students will say 6 minus 17 is 11 and all different types of answers. They will say all different types of answers. The simple way to do this, guys, is to look at these numbers as owe and have. The 6 is positive, so it's an amount that you have. The 17 is negative, it's an amount that you owe. Therefore, if you pay the 6 that you have, you'll recognize here that you owe an amount, or you still owe an amount of 11. All right. So hopefully you guys are catching on as we go along through these questions here. All right. So we're going to bounce back again now to another question here. PEMDAS. Now we end up with 2 sets of parentheses here, and we have a parentheses where we have something inside the parentheses to work out, and once we work that out, we're going to square the result, and we also have something inside of a parentheses right here, which is going to be multiplied by an exponent 5 squared. So let's get right into that then. So 20 divided by 4. Now, before we do that, let's go back to our fundamental rule of writing the P, the E, the M, the D, the A, the S at the top here. So we have P, E, M, D, A, S, cross off the P because we're about to do it now. So 20 divided by 4 is 5. We're going to put back the square right here, and that's going to be plus now. We're going to work out this inner parentheses, this inner one here, this inner bracket. So 16 minus 3, I'm going to put back my square bracket here. 16 minus 3 is 13, and then 13 times 5 squared. So you might ask, sir, why didn't you just go ahead and just work out 13 times 25? I could have done that, but as you can see, guys, depending on the complexity of the question, working more than one thing at the same time can later on be detrimental to your answer. So you just want to take your time. There's no rush in getting to the answer. It's more important to get the correct answer using the correct process as opposed to getting to the correct answer using a much shorter process. When you become more advanced, then you can actually go ahead and get through that. Remember, if you were an advanced student, you wouldn't be here watching this video. So essentially, steps are important to getting to your answer. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead, then I'm going to work out 5 squared because that's the E's next exponent. So that's 25 plus. I could have still worked out, because remember that the 13 minus 5 squared is still in the parentheses. So I could have essentially gone ahead then and work out the 13 times 25. I could have essentially started doing that. But here's what I'm going to do. Since I've already worked out the 5 squared, I'm going to go ahead and keep this in the parentheses here. I'm going to say 13 times 25. All right? All right. Now, I'm still in the parentheses. So essentially, I'm going to go ahead and work out 13 minus 25. I believe this is 800. And let me just double check on that. 13 minus 25. I usually have my calculator right beside me. And like I said, guys, when you're working these questions, what you want to do is you want to ensure that your calculator is used for verification. Don't just use the calculator to type the answers in because you cannot be bothered. You want to use your calculator for verification. This is actually 325. So 13 times 25 is going to be 25 plus 325. And our answer works out to be 350. All right. So good, guys. Have your calculators on hand to work out or verify answers, or even to work out a little bit difficult more multiplication that is done on your standard multiplication table, because I think majority of persons don't naturally know what is 13 times 25 mentally. But you can actually, just use your calculator to do stuff like that. But just do not use the calculator just to get the answer. That's not going to help you in the future. All right. Let's move on right on in to the next question here. Remember, guys, if you've gotten thus far in the video, please leave a comment down below. Let me know if you have been assisted, if you have gotten clarity on stuff, if you're becoming a better student. Leave a like if you have some way of helping the channel. Of course, share a clip on your status, share it on your social media platforms, on your TikToks, and just share it, guys. Share it. Let the world know that math is not difficult. Many persons think math is difficult, but it's not. It really comes down to having a strong core fundamentals and having the ability to just love the subject. It's a beautiful subject. It's a beautiful discipline. Everybody can learn. Everybody must learn. And through my channel, I'll be reaching a lot of you guys across the world, across the Caribbean, and helping you to become more successful at this. All right. Let's move on to this question here. Now, again, we are ending up with some operations with integers here. Right here, so we have negative by negative. That's going to be positive. Positive by negative, that's going to be negative. Negative by negative, that's positive as well. And of course, we're going to have, say here, positive by negative is negative. Now let's rewrite the question without the signs, without the clashes. Negative 8 plus 12 minus 9 plus 8 minus 13. We're going to go ahead and create our cases like so. Now we have that negative 13 outside, nothing to group the negative 13 with, so we're just going to be patiently waiting to group that negative 13 with another numerical value. Now in this first parenthesis here, negative 8 plus 12, that's going to be equal to positive 4, because that's not negative 20, guys. Remember, negative 8 represents an amount that you owe, 12 represents an amount that you have. Paying the 8 that you owe will leave you with an amount of 4 for yourself. Negative 9 plus 8, again, is not negative 17. Too many students over the years have been and still doing negative 9 plus 8 is negative 17. Remember, negative 9 represents an amount that you owe. The 8 represents an amount that you have. Paying the 8 will still leaving you owing an amount of 1 minus 13. All right, and again, let's group up here. 4 minus 1, that's obviously going to be 3. I think everybody should be able to handle that. And then we end up here naturally with negative 10. 3 take away 13. 3 is an amount that you have. The 13 represents an amount that you owe. Pay the 3 that you have, and you will still owe an amount of 10. All right, so beautiful, beautiful, guys. Let's wrap this paper up there. We're coming to the end. Let me see how many questions we have left. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions, 6 questions to go, 7, 8. Ooh, we have quite a bit of working out to do here. So let's get this all wrapped up here. All right. Again, guys, if you have made it this far in the video and you have gotten the concept, leave a like, leave a comment, share the video out to your social platforms. Help the channel of math elites and improving math students to grow. Here we go. All right. Now we have this question here, and we have a large parentheses with a bunch of stuff going on inside, and we have that times 2 here. All right. Remember, you must be able to write down the questions correctly, because if you write down the question incorrectly, like I believe I was working this question and I wasn't paying attention, and I actually put the parentheses here, which gave me a total different answer. So be very, very careful, ladies and gentlemen, when you're actually doing this. All right. Okay, so here we go. 11 minus 20 divided by. Now, the problem in this question, just offset, just as you look at it, the problem in this question is this portion, this division bar, this fraction bar type of problem. All right. And this is just really and truly, these types of questions, they are not, you don't normally see these on exam papers, but if you do, this is a true test to see if the student is paying close attention to what's going on in the class. Okay, so let's go here. I think it's only best that we work out this section of the problem first. All right, so here we go. We're going to have 11 minus 20 divided by, and I'm going to work out this part of the problem first, this part here, and then put back my plus 8. So let's go. Now, 5 squared is 25. All right, so that's 25 right here. And then we're going to have minus 13. So now we can work out 25 minus 13 at the top here. So 25 minus 13 is 12. So we know that finally then 5 squared minus 13 is 12. And then 12 divided by 3, that's going to give you positive 4. So that's nice. If you can work out that question like that, it's easy. Now you can go ahead and type it into your calculator at once. I'm really not a big fan of the calculator when you have numerical problems like this. So try your very best, guys, just to avoid the calculator as best as you can. Just use it to verify your answer. So this becomes 4 right here. All right. And so that's going to be plus 8 in the bracket here. And then we're going to have times 2 here. All right. Moving right along. We're going to finish up the parentheses now. Remember that inside the parentheses, there are a bunch of operations going on. So you still want to obey the rule of PEMDAS inside the parentheses. So naturally then, for those of you who are going to say 11 minus 20, that's going to be negative 9. That's going to be very, very, very incorrect. So remember, guys, you work division. Division takes precedence over subtraction and addition. All right. So I'm going to take my time. Then I'm going to go ahead and write back my square bracket here. 11 minus 5. 11 minus 5 plus 8 times 2. All right. Now, since as subtraction and addition pretty much won't really, I mean, I could go ahead and create another line and say 11 minus 5 is 6 plus 8, and then times the result by 2. But since as I'm not going to have much of a consequence here, 11 minus 5 is just going to be 6. So I could just have this in my head. 6 and 6 plus 8, that's going to give me 14. So 11 minus 5 plus 8, that's going to give me 16 multiplied by 2. And that works out nicely to be 32. All right, lovely, really nice, really, really nice, guys. All right, let's wrap this up. We don't want to spend a long time. Remember your practice sessions, according to my advice when it comes to study. I think I want to make a video. I want to make a video, guys, on how to practice. I feel like there are many students who misunderstand the concept of practicing math. You don't practice math for 2-3 hours. You practice math for a set amount of time period. And based on my statistical observation and recommendation, 45 minutes to an hour is good enough per day, not even per day, 2 or 3 times per week. And you focus on the area of concern. Don't just practice a bunch of different math problems, matrices, vectors, functions, relations, trigonometry. That's crazy. That's too much stuff that the brain has to learn at once, especially if they're not overlapping with each other. So you want to ensure, guys, that when you're practicing, keep your practice sessions short, spicy, and objective. All right, let's go on to this next question here. All right, so now we end up with more. Ooh, I think I may have missed a sign here. Let me see if I can grab the correct sign. It's a sign that was missing. All right, so for this question, it's negative 10 minus 7. Okay, so it's a minus sign that's missing from here. All right, so here we go. We're going to go ahead and group like terms. Well, group in pairs of 2. Quickly run through this one. There's no clash of signs. So that's owing 17 because you owe 10, you owe 7, so you owe 17. Bracket number 2, you owe 11 and you have 13. Pay the 11 that you owe and you still have an amount of 2 left over. All right. And then the third bracket, then you owe 12 and you have 17. Paying the 12 that you owe, you realize then that you still have an amount of 5 left over. Place this in a bracket here. Negative 17 plus 2, that's going to be negative 15. Negative 15, reason being you owe 17 and you have 2. Pay the 2 that you have and you still owe an amount of 15. All right, and very common, apart from the students who have been in my class, who have been learning from me, many students, believe it or not, and if you're honest to yourself, prior to watching this video or even prior to coming in my math class, many of you guys will have written down that the answer is negative 20. Let me know in the comments if you're one such student. This is actually going to be negative 10. All right, remember the negative 15 represents an amount that you owe. The 5 represents an amount that you have. Pay the 5 that you have and you still owe an amount of 10. All right, so hopefully you guys will not make that mistake in the future. All right, lovely, 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 lovely. Let's dive right on in. You'll see that I've repeated this question because at this point I believe that question 1 reflects question 9. That should be the next question. So I've skipped to question 10 here, right? And so there's no point in working question 9 because question 9 accidentally repeated itself for question 1. All right, so now we have 13 minus 8. I believe this is an 8. All right, here we go. Grouping like terms here. Well, grouping in pairs of 2. Lovely. All right, let's zoom up a little bit. Let's scroll up a little bit here. All right, very good. So here we go. We're going to have, say here, 13 minus 8. That's going to be positive 5. Let me make sure that the signs are correct and the numbers are correct, guys. I'm looking at the template here. All right, so we're good. 13 minus 8 is 5. 12 minus 9 is positive 3. And then you owe 15 and you owe 4. That's going to be negative 19. How is that negative 19, sir? Isn't 15 minus 4 11? Well, guys, we have to get out of this habit. So many students do this, and it bewilders me as to how can you see a number and ignore the sign that is in front of the number. This is not 15, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is minus 15. So minus 15 minus 4 gives minus 19, guys. All right, let's get right here. 5 plus 3, that's going to give you 8 minus 19. And if you work out the math here, 8 minus 19, with or without the calculator, you should find that your answer here is negative 11. All right? So hope you guys are getting the hang of that here. All right, let's move on to the next question here, guys. We don't want to spend a long time here. We're here for a short time and we want to enjoy the entire tutorial. Okay, so now we end up here now with this particular question. All right, I believe I'm missing a square off here. There's a square missing. I knew there was something missing. And here's something funny, guys. Did you know? Well, you wouldn't know, obviously, but I actually did this video and I did not record my screen. So essentially, I did this video with a bunch of different explanation. It was quite interactive. This one is equally as good, but this one is a little bit more calmer. I forgot to record my screen. I have the audio, but I did not record my screen. So I'm a little bit tired and drained because I have to do this video twice. But you know, I love all my students and I love that you guys are learning. So it's not going to take a lot out of me to really redo the video. Let's get into it here. So we have two pairs of parentheses here. We have 22 divided by 2 minus 2 times 20 squared, result of that squared, plus 4 take away 6 divided. Let me just write that clearly so you guys don't go ahead. Divided by 6 all squared. All right, the square is on the outside. Let's write that properly. Square is on the outside, okay? All right, now, very importantly, guys, here is where I can get away with sort of breaking the rule, right? And I'm not really breaking the rule. I'm just kind of sort of breaking the rule. Now, many students will say, can you work these two at the same time? You can. And why you can do that is because there is a minus sign that prevents the clash of precedents, call it that. Now, if I had 22 divided by 2 and then immediately, so 22 divided by, pardon me guys, hold on, give me a sec. So if I had 22 divided by 2 and then immediately follows the times 20, then I definitely have to divide before I multiply. That is in that case. Now, because I have 22 divided by 2, and this minus sign prevents the argument between division and multiplication, some students will go ahead and work out 22 divided by 2 and write 11 minus 2 times 20. Then they'll work out the 2 times 20 and all of that good stuff. Right, you can do that. Or some students will say that your instructor, which is, for example, me, tells them that they should multiply before they divide. All right, so in this case here, there's not going to be much of a problem with regards to which one is done first, right? But I still want you to stick to the rule of working the PEMDAS. So I'm going to go ahead, PEM. I think I forgot to do this in one of the previous questions. Let's go. So we're going to go ahead and work out that part. So that's going to be 11 minus, I'm going to work that part simultaneously as well. So that's going to be 40. Let's write that good. It's going to be 40. And I'm going to square the answer here. All right. So I haven't really been punished. Okay. So just in case you have that question, I hope I cleared that up for you. Now over here now, there's no arguments. You must divide before you subtract, because division and subtraction is never competing. Division will always take precedence over subtraction. But when it's multiplication and division, there's always an argument with who goes first. All right, so just bear that in mind as well. Just open our bracket here. We know we can't say 4 take away 6. That would be incorrect. We're going to say 6 divided by 6 is 1. So that's 4 take away 1 squared there. All right, let's just write that better. 4 take away 6 is 4 take away 6 divided by 6, 4 take away 1. Okay, lovely. So now we're going to end up with 11 take away 40. That's negative 29. Please ensure to put this back in a bracket, especially if you're a student that is using a calculator. In a moment, I'll show you what can happen where you can do the question perfectly correct, guys, and you just mess up in that last part. 4 take away 1 is going to be 3 squared. Now, pay attention, guys. Pay close attention to this. Please understand that negative 29 squared is not equal to negative 29 all squared. Let's examine. Negative 29 squared, as you see written on screen here, means negative 29 multiplied by 29. All right, that's what it means. So my answer here is going to work out to be negative. Let me just grab this here. I think it's 841. So it's going to work out to be negative 841. So negative 841, right? I think I grabbed that answer out of my head. All right, now negative 29 squared means negative 29 multiplied by another negative 29, which works out to be 841. So believe it or not, if when you're working this out and you fail to put that bracket here, as you see it here, if you don't have that bracket there and you go ahead and use a calculator, which most likely majority of us are going to use a calculator, I don't think a lot of I think minority will know what negative 29 squared is in your head, but majority of us are going to use a calculator. When we type this in, it's going to tell us negative 841. When you do the math, you're going to end up with an answer such as negative 832, right? And then it's going to feel like it's right. But what you're not understanding is that leaving off that bracket here is going to be crucial, all right? Many teachers don't talk about this, but I am. I'm talking about this, guys. All right, it's important, guys, that you remember these little subtle things in your calculation. It does messes you up. I don't know if any computer science students are watching this video, but you'll know the importance, especially when you're coding. If you're doing a code or a line of code and you leave off a semicolon or a comma or an open and close quotation on a string code, then you'll find out that it will not run. The code will not run. You will not get the output that you're looking for. All right. So it's very important, guys, that these little things are remembered. So this is 841 plus 9, and that's 850. All right. So all important things to note. Again, guys, if you have made it this far in the video, as a constant reminder, please do not forget to hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, ladies and gentlemen, so you guys can be helped and others around you can be helped as well. All right, let us grow the community of math elites and students that are becoming fundamentally strong as we go along. All right, and please check out the links that are pinned in the comments and in the description of this video. You will find other useful tutorials that will assist you in becoming a much better and stronger student. All right, let's see how much questions we have left. We only have just 2 more, so let's wrap this up quick and fast. I believe that's a redundant statement, quick and fast. All right, let's get into it, guys. Let's wrap this up here. So again, operations for the final time in this video, or operations with integers. Remember, when you get these types of questions, remember to take care of the clash first. So the clash here is plus with negative is negative, negative with negative is positive, positive with negative is negative, and positive with negative is negative here. Let's rewrite the question without the clash. It's minus 13 plus, oops, not plus. See, just made a mistake. Negative 13 minus 18 plus 11 minus 7 minus 5. All right. I'm not sure. Did I make a mistake? I know that a lot of you guys would have had access to this paper. Let's see here. Oh, there's a couple more questions left. So negative 13 minus 18. Yeah, so it's plus minus 7, plus minus 5. We actually have 3 questions left. Let's get into this here. So rewriting the question without the sign, let's place them into groups of 2, like so. All right, so now we're going to have negative 13 minus 18. That's going to be negative 31. And then we end up with 11 minus 7. That's going to be positive 4 minus 5. Okay, place this number bracket here. 11 minus 7, guys. Maybe I'm moving a little bit too fast. 11 minus 7 is 4 minus 5. Remember, guys, when you're doing these questions, you want to pause the video, attempt the question, guys. Oh, I've seen this so many times. Persons are studying, they're watching a YouTube video, and you're just letting the video play. You don't let the video play. You pause the video, right? And a 1-hour video should take you at least 2.5 hours to study, depending on the complexity, because you have to pause, work, make the corrections if you made any. Make the corrections to the mistake if you've made any. stuff like that. So you shouldn't be watching a 1 hour video for 1 hour. You should be watching it for at least an hour and a half or more, because you should be pausing, making an attempt, and then matching your solutions to the instructor online. All right, so you want to practice to do that, guys. Let's get into it. Minus 31 plus 4, that's going to be minus 27. Assuming that you guys know how I got that, then you will realize that the answer here is minus 32. Remember, negative 31 is an amount that you owe, 4 is an amount that you have, pay what you have, and you still owe an amount of 27. And both of these now is owing. So if you owe 27 and you owe 5, you end up owing 32 here. All right? Moving nicely, moving right along here. All right, and you can see, guys, I'm going to be here for like an hour, and it didn't take me an hour, and it only took me an hour because I'm teaching you. So if I'm practicing this and I have the fundamentals, 30 to 45 minutes will help me run through this paper, and that was a good, powerful practice session. All right, let's get into it here. All right, so now we have this question here. We have parentheses here, so we have, let me just double check on the template to ensure that what is on screen, because as I said, guys, I did the video already and I had to erase the solutions, so making sure that everything is good here. All right, beautiful. So what I did recognize with this question is that I wasn't sure why from the template the minus 3 was placed in a bracket and a parentheses. But then I understand what they were trying to do. They were trying to get the student to distinguish between the minus 3 and the 4. So sometimes you're going to find practice questions with these types of questions, with these types of, what you guys would call an ambiguity, or some of you guys will call this like you're not sure why, or it confuses you. It's just to distinguish that the negative 3 should be added to the 4. All right, that's the purpose. All right, so it's not necessarily a parenthesis for something for you to work out. It's just a distinguished way of separating the minus 3 from the 4. So let's get into it then. We're going to have 9 times, and now we're going to work out what is in the parentheses here. Remember, PEMDAS, right? So we're going to work out the parentheses first. So inside the parentheses, I can go ahead right away and work out this minus 3 plus 4. And that's going to be minus what? Sorry, positive 1. Let's just erase that. It's going to be a positive 1. All right. Now, big mistake. Big mistake. Many students, and I'm sure, if you're honest to yourself, did you just multiply negative by negative and get a positive? Yes, I know you did. I know you. I can actually see you making that mistake. And so let's understand why this is a mistake. It's going back to, again, PEMDAS. You've just broken the rule. You've just placed multiplication over exponent. That cannot be done. You have to not do that mistake. All right? So if you go ahead and you multiply negative by negative, and this is something that I've found when you get to functions and relations and you're working out the completing the square, this sort of thing pops up, right? And I've seen many students saying at that level, when exam is like a few weeks around the corner, a month or so around the corner, I find students saying negative by negative is positive and squaring the result, ending up with 9 times 5 as opposed to 9 times negative 3. So, guys, oh Lord, please do not go ahead and go inside the exponential and change the sign and then square. You have to do exponent before you do any other operation. So here's the correct way to do it. It's going to be, remember that negative 3 plus 4, right? Negative 3 plus 4 is positive 1. So you also might be asking then, how are you able to add, Mr. Peart, before you do the exponent if exponent takes precedence over addition? The thing is, guys, remember that there's a minus sign here that is preventing any arguments from taking place. So if I had written down minus 3, if I had gone ahead and write down minus 3 plus 4 and then work out negative 2 squared, I would have gotten 4 here. Then still, I would have to add before I subtract. So I would still have to say negative 3 plus 4 is 1, take away 4. So what we say in Jamaica is that 6 of 1, half dozen is the same thing. You're going to still get the correct answer. And no, oops, I'm so sorry, guys. No matter what you do, even if you were to subtract first, even if you were to go ahead and subtract, say 4 minus 4 is 0, and then negative 3 plus 0 is negative 3, the rule is not broken. Why am I able to do that? Why am I able to go ahead and add that negative 3 to the 4 before doing the exponent? Because the sign here prevents the argument. No need for a clash. You said this was a multiplication sign, and I said negative 3 plus 4 is 1, and then times it by negative 2 squared. That would be a problem because multiplication takes precedence over addition and subtraction. All right. So that is just to address the student who thinks that I broke the rule. So again, negative 3 plus 4 is 1 minus negative 2 squared. We spoke about this earlier, that negative 2 squared is not equal to negative 2 squared. This is negative 2 times negative 2, and that is not equal to negative 2 times 2. This is positive 4, and positive 4 is not equal to negative 4. So we made mention of that, all right? So all of these subtle things that I'm showing you in this video, ladies and gentlemen, are mistakes that are plaguing you. Whether you want to admit it or not, these are the mistakes that are plaguing you, and you have to desist, refrain from making these mistakes. And with this video, I hope that it has been helpful. So let's go ahead then. Negative 2 squared is positive 4. All right, so negative 2 squared right here. When you square the negative 2, you get positive 4. But remember, the minus was still there already, so it becomes minus 4. All right, and then finally, then this becomes 9 times negative 3, which is negative 27. All right, very simple question, but it brought out a lot. It brought out a whole lot. All right, lovely, nice. So let's bring this video to the end. We have 2 more questions left, ladies and gentlemen. Let's wrap this video up nice and easy. All right, as you can see, guys, I'm kind of running out of battery space. So let's quickly wrap this up. I don't want the video to end with it shutting off on me. So here, negative by negative, positive, negative by negative, positive. No, there's no clash there. No clash there. Positive times negative is negative. So let's rewrite the question. Then we end up with 18 plus 12 plus 15 minus 21 minus 18 minus 18. Oops, bunch of stuff here. So minus 18 minus 11. Place these into groups of 2. 18 plus 12, very easy. That's going to be 30. 15 minus 21. Remember, the 21 is an amount that you owe. The 15 is an amount that you have. That's negative 6. Negative 18 minus 11, that's going to be negative 29. All right. And so 30 minus 6 is going to be 24. All right, remember that we're going to go ahead and flash up that here. 30 minus 6 is 24 minus 29, and that's equal to negative 25. All right. So hopefully you guys got that one. That was pretty nice. Thumbs up, leave a like if you have gotten that one right. And now, finally, guys, we have gotten to our 14th question. And we're going to slow it down a little bit here and just let this question be the one to summarize all that we've been doing in this video here. All right. So this last question here, guys, right, it entails everything. We have multiplication, we have division, we have subtraction, we have powers, we have exponents, we have parentheses. Let's get into it here. So for the final time, guys, in this video, here we go. P, E, M, D, A, S. Let's cross it off. Do we see any P's in this question? We have seen P's. So we have this P right here and this P right here. We're going to write down the answer for those P's and rewrite everything else. I know you can work out the 2 cubes and the 3 squared simultaneously. And if you do that, you're going to get your full marks. I just don't want any subtle mistakes happening to you, as we have demonstrated in earlier questions that can happen. So just to avoid that, step by step, guys. Baby steps, let's go. 5 plus, pardon me. Okay, so 5 plus, I'm going to write down my 2 cubes. I'm not ready to work it out as yet. I know the answer is 8, but I'm going to wait. So 2 cubes times 22 divided by 11, that's 2. All right, we're going to minus 3 squared times, I'm going to work out 4 plus 5, that's going to be 9. All right, nice. So we've worked out those two parts. This is the answer for that. That is the answer for that. Okay, continue. Now we're going to work out our exponents because that's what comes next. So 5 plus 8. Whoops, let's write this 8 in red. 5 plus 8 times 2 minus 3 squared is 9 times 9. So this becomes the answer for this part here, and that's the answer for this part here. Okay, lovely. So now we're going to work out the M section next now. M section next. So now we're going to have 5 plus 8 times 2. That's going to give us 16 minus 9 times 9 is 81. So this becomes the answer for this section. That becomes the answer for that section. 9 times 9 is 81. And then now we are at the final lap. 5 plus 16 minus 81. We're going to work out the 5 plus 16 because addition takes precedence over subtraction. So 5 plus 16, that's going to be 21. And 21 minus 81 will give us a final answer here of negative 60. All right, lovely. All right, so I really do hope that this video was beneficial to you guys. It was 15 questions that brought out a lot. For many persons, they'll say that this is a fundamental video. They can do it. It's easy for them. But for you guys, you have just watched a video that potentially unlocked your you've just watched a video that potentially has unlocked your potential to become a great student, a good math student. So without further ado, guys, it has been an entertaining moment. Nobody was online with me tonight. It was just me, myself, and I practicing and sharing my practice session with you. All right, so until next time, my name is Apex. My name is Akeen. So many persons call me different names. But essentially, I am your math instructor, and I'll see you in the tutorials coming up during the week. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment down in the comment section below. All right. And again, if you feel the need to join my online platform, wherever you cross the island, this is ultimately the best learning platform for CSEC, CCSLC, SEA, or Caribbean exams preparation. All right. So until then, take care. My name is Apex. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.